Uh, Quick introduction. I am Prakash Dharmani, and I'm a global CIO for a company known as EPL Limited. Quick background. So today's agenda, I just wanted to cover, quick, broadly, basically, two topics. So these topics revolved around one is we did a bit of our industry IoT 4.0 implementation. So I would just quickly talk about it. How did we go about it? What were the challenges? And then uh, so while this was done last year and recently we have actually gone live with our complete S4 HANA migration. So I just touch upon this project, and I would request this to be a little bit more interactive. Kindly, please be feel to ask questions as in when you feel, or please. More importantly, I hope I'm audible, or in case of you want me to go a little slow, I could actually do that. Yeah. So coming to EPL, SL Propack Limited. It was actually erstwhile known as SL Propack Limited, and I would not be surprised if you would, I'm sure indirectly most of you are our customers in the sense, we are one of the world's largest, I would say, supplier of packaging, laminated and plastic tubes. So what are these tubes? Just to give you a brief background, these tubes are used for the packaging of maybe say oral care and non-oral care products. So when I say oral care, is basically a toothpaste. For example, Colgate toothpaste, what you are using in Singapore, or even in China or any parts of the world, it's a very high probability that this toothpaste packaging material would have been made by us, because we almost have like close to 33% market share across the globe. Similarly, say there's a L'Oreal product which you might be using, or a pharmaceutical product you might be using. So we are one of the world's largest supplier to laminated and plastic tubes to a lot of FMCG, pharma companies, etc. So like I mentioned, we produce almost 8 billion tubes across the globe. We have a presence in practically most of the continents. So whether it is US, Mexico, Colombia, and Germany, Poland, these all places we actually have our manufacturing based locations. So we have around 20 manufacturing units across the globe. We have got around 50 odd patents which have been filed in our names. And similarly, like I mentioned, we are a global leader in oral care packaging. Quick brief history. I know just to introduce ourselves, our company was incorporated in 1982 in India. We are a India-based MNC, but then over the period we have grown. We have established our footprint across the globe. And just to last couple of milestones, recently we got acquired by Blackstone globally. Now we are part of a Blackstone group company, and our company name has changed from SAP Propack to EPL Limited. So that's a brief history. Now, deep diving into the topics which might, I'm sure you guys would be more of interest to you. If I look at our complete landscape, the current IT landscape, at the we have implemented SAP S4 HANA across all my legal entities across the globe. Like I mentioned, I have 20 manufacturing plants. So we all are on a single instance of SAP, which is hosted out of India. And on top of HANA, we have SAP. We use extensively PIPO layer for integrating various SAP as well as non-SAP products into SAP. And from SAP stack perspective, we also have implemented SAP APO, that is Advanced Planning Optimizer. And top of it, we have BW. So while this is my SAP landscape, similarly for non-SAP landscape, because I'm sure many of us, we need to coexist with a lot of other applications to manage our business requirements. So in the core, we actually, if I look at it, there's something known as eAct. This is a ESCO application which we had implemented. Is a third-party software again, which we had implemented to capture the customer requirements in our in our business. There's an artwork which gets captured, and so this is eAct. Then on top of it, like I mentioned, recently we have implemented IoT app complete landscape from NEC. We use NEC's Japan. NEC is a Japanese-based conglomerate. We have adopted their IoT platform to capture and integrate all of our plant machinery onto the single platform. And basically, we are using Plan Visage for the scheduling perspective for the two. BPM and DMS are basically workflow management tools to automate certain other processes which are outside SAP. So we use document management system, homegrown legacy system, which we use. And for financial consolidation, we use Oracle product FCCS on the cloud. Cognos is our business process consolidating tool, which we use for basically annual business planning. This is an IBM product which we have deployed. And obviously, the data lake can't be the complete MIS analytics can't be far away. So on top of this, we have implemented data lake on AWS platform. I'll just take a quick 5-second quick break. If anyone has any questions, or I can move on, just kindly raise your hands, or if you can give a show of hands, I will be more than keen to deep dive.
So you can also unmute yourself and ask a question if you have any questions.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So I'll just move ahead. Yep. Yeah. Just okay. So we also have implemented success factors, which is a HCP application. For the complete hire to retire cycle. Now coming to the first, like I mentioned, I'm going to talk about two key projects which we did. So coming to the first projects, if I look at, is basically a complete shop floor digitization project, which we started implementing. So here, our thought process was today, if you look at the life of any manufacturing, plant, there's a lot of data which gets captured. There's a logbook, there's a shift logbook, and there are various process parameters and production related parameters which gets captured. Now these are traditionally captured in a manual logbook. So we thought of automating this complete and digitizing this complete process. So we started from traditional and see what was also happening was, once these data were captured in the logbook, there was a data entry operator who would then go and update all this data into SAP using typical SAP GUI front end ECC. Yeah. Can you? I'm getting some feedback. So yeah. So in terms of, so we look at the thought process was to completely automate the production booking. WMS is warehouse management system, quality management system, which by integrating basically by implementing SAP Fiori at the front end, which we gave handheld devices for the people to capture the complete machine data, and basically completely digitize the process. And then this also, in the process we built in a lot of validation, so that say when people are moving, say today when I'm doing a production booking, you need to ensure that the person cannot book more than the production order itself. Or there are a lot of validations which are built in based on the master data, routing data, BOM data, which ensures that people can't put in junk data. So approval validation was also built in. Similarly, like I mentioned, we've shifted from completely from physical records to the digital records, and on top of it, we also to enable the complete analytics piece of it, we have actually implemented an ML and AI solution. So this is a disclaimer, this is work in progress. We are still working on this to develop ML and AI algorithms on top of it. This we are doing it in now AWS platform. And like, see, this one project also enabled, what has brought, since we are present in 20 different geographies, earlier what used to happen, even though we had implemented SAP over the years, there was a lot of, process changes had occurred, and each unit was working differently. So, but now with this, we have brought in a lot of standardization and ensuring that, everybody is following a standard manufacturing processes to capture the production related data. So this is a brief architecture, from the, from technical architecture, I would say. So for example, these on the left hand side are our machines, which are used to manufacture our laminated and plastic tubes. Now, using a IoT gateway, typically we capture the data from individual machines. Okay, and this IoT data is actually then pushed onto using MQTT protocols. It's actually pushed to the IoT centralized IoT server, which is hosted in a okay. So this will first push the data to IoT edge server, and from IoT edge servers, the data actually goes to the centralized server, which is integrated with SAP on a using PIPO. We capture the relevant data into the PIPO SAP platform, and then this further, basically we have developed this complete Fiori gateway for accessing this applications. So we have, for example, purchase order booking, the output details, the order processing data, everything which was earlier happening in traditional SAP ECC, we have brought it down to a handset. So the person, a production engineer using a handset, can actually do all these activities, and this has resulted big time into productivity gains. It is also because we have automated the data capturing from the machines. So earlier, a lot of data which was getting manually fed in, now it actually gets captured in the handheld devices, and it is uploaded either onto the IoT platform or onto a SAP platform. And ultimately, operator, he gets a complete visibility on the reports. So yeah, so this is a kind of a screen which a production engineer, on the shop floor, when he's using, he gets to see, so he has to enter the production data, then using, and we have, like, any mobile applications, we have created various mobile small applets, I would say, to capture the complete order details to, basically this covers the complete production cycle of an engineer. And in the output, instead of a manual logbook, now he's actually getting a complete digitized logbook and a dashboard. So yeah, this is one project I thought I will deep dive. Any questions? More than happy to answer it at this stage, or I can move on to SAP HANA Migration project.
So, I think it's a good idea to stop here. It's a logical stop to see if anyone has any questions. I have a question, Prakash sir, if you may allow me to ask my question.
Yeah,
so
sure.
One of the things that typically follow all of these changes in terms of moving from your traditional logbooks and the way the shop floor operates to moving into a digitized solution, there is a whole lot of challenges when it comes to adoption. So what did you guys do? Did you face a similar challenge? And if yes, how did you tackle it? If you did not face a challenge like that, what did you do beforehand so that you did not face the challenge?
Yeah, I think it's actually a very good question. Okay, so see, like I mentioned, today EPL has got 20 different plants across the globe, including China, US, Mexico, Colombia. Okay, so before kicking off this project, what we did was we brought our SAP power users into single location so we brought them to in India in one of our biggest plants, and for around 6 to 7 days we were just brainstorming, what we understood the pain points each region is facing. Okay. But then thought process was that, at the end of the 6-7 days, all the plant people have to agree that this is the process which we will follow when our systems are getting digitized. So that's the way we address the change management, as well as we, got a buy-in that whatever we are doing now, we will be something which is going to, while it is going to be different, but then this will enable a lot of productivity gains, because people will not have to key in a lot of manual data. This will automate and simplify their life. So this is a way we actually handled it. And then after that also, what we used to do on a monthly basis, we used to engage and keep talking to all the regional, because obviously we cannot, people can't keep traveling. It is expensive to bring all the 20 people. But one time we did that. Post that, we regularly kept on engaging with them to showcase what was happening. And once then the system was ready, we again, invited few regional leaders to come and test the system. So what we actually did, say for example, when we were going live in India, apart from India, we asked Polish users to test the system, so that they also understand what. So when I go to the Poland, they will be knowing exactly what is going to come in their way. So we formed a a cross geographical team to engage with the users, so that adoption becomes much more easier when the system is rolled out.
Thanks for sharing that. Has anyone any questions? Please do either put them on the chat or unmute yourself and ask questions. I have a lot of questions, so if you don't ask questions, I will typically continue to ask questions. So one of the questions then comes is, in terms of productivity gains. So what kind of productivity gains have you seen after a go live from on this point of view? And when you say automate a lot of these data capture, what kind of automation? Is it machine directly, the feed coming through the IoT sensors? Is it QR code based automation? Is it scanning based automation? I mean, what kind of automation are we talking about in the entire data capture phase?
So yeah,
and just I'll add one more question to this. From a technology deployment perspective, you spoke about change management, but from a technology perspective, were there any challenges that you faced? And if yes, how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so yeah, multiple questions. So let me try to answer it one by one, Mukesh. And see, one, in terms of, productivity gains, right? So one question, see today, for example, before we implemented this system, on an average, every shift operator or a production engineer used to spend roughly about 2 hours in ensuring that, the data, his production data, everything is getting captured, effectively in the system. Now that has been brought down to somewhere around 1 hour 15 minutes. So there's a productivity gain of around 45 minutes per shift per operator. So and that is really amazing, because it has become very easy for the operator, and for them, because they don't need to go back to the desktops, because now we have given them a handheld devices, which is loaded with basically application. These are industrial handheld devices, either Zebra devices or Honeywell devices, which has got capability to host mobile applications and integrate with SAP in the backend. So this is productivity wise, it's absolutely it has been a good payback for us. In terms of, again, change management, see, since initially we were only traditionally using, I would say, SAP ECC. Now with this application, we have implemented SAP Fiori, in the front end. So obviously there's also back end, but more challenging, I think, was even the basically the capturing of machine data, the IoT platform which we chose, because while a lot of people say that they have implemented IoT, etc., but when we actually started getting into it, a lot of things hit us in terms of what kind of sizing should I do, what I will compute on edge, what I will compute on the cloud. Okay, because accordingly a lot of things changes. Then even frequency of capturing the data, we suppose, because there are a lot of signals getting generated now. When I'm capturing that on IoT platform, I will very easy to say capture everything, but then suddenly the database balloons up like anything, and then you will see then you need to optimize, and you need to remove unwanted data, because that itself is a lot of admin activities which comes into the picture. So screening, and again, being SAP, I'll say we also had to ensure that we are compliant from the compliance perspective. So we bought the digital licenses also to capture the certain data from IoT platform into SAP. So while we are not pushing everything into SAP, but then limited information which is required for production booking, from governance perspective, that is also I would like I will inform the user of that. We went and bought digital licenses. So for limited data exchange which is happening in between IoT platform and SAP, that was another technological, I would say, thing which we need to keep in mind. And so there were, and see, second thing is what is happening. Even the skill set availability in the market today, there are not a lot of people who has done this kind of integration in the market who can tell us end to end how to go about it, right? So yes, these are the I would say major things which actually were really challenging for our perspective. Even networks, when when you are doing an IoT project, normally when you run a standalone SAP project, I think even your plant network, I'm sure, is capable enough to take basic load, because SAP is a very that way low resource application. But when you move to IoT and these kind of applications and trying to capture the data on a real-time basis, you need to augment your network also. So all these factors you need to keep in mind. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll again hold on for a minute to see if there are any questions before I ask my next question.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are not too many questions coming forth. So let me ask my question. You spoke about the productivity gains that you saw on the shop floor from the production engineer's perspective, right? So did you also see an improvement in terms of the quality of data and the insights that these data provide for senior leadership to make decisions? And so that's one, in terms of quality of data and how it helps your decision makers make decisions. And second is, how did you justify the ROI for the entire expense? I mean, if you can just touch a little bit on that as well, that will be great.
Yeah, sure. So okay, definitely from data integrity, because now majority of the data operators are not keying in. They are actually being captured by the either the IoT application or the Fiori application. Yes, I did not answer one more part. Now I remember you in fact asked. See, we have implemented QR code scanning. So every production order or which across the plant is actually we have a barcode which gets generated and it is actually pasted on the finished good or semi-finished good product. So what we do is we the handheld devices what we bought are actually capable of to do the scanning also. So that has further simplified the data capturing part of it and reduced data errors to the very large extent. Say for example, what used to happen earlier was before this application was implemented, production used to happen. They used to get filled in the boxes, but the labels for this, which are getting pasted on the box were either pre-printed or they used to post-print as and when the operator used to get time. Now, what we have done is we have automated the complete process. So as soon as the box is getting generated and it is filled, parallelly a label is getting generated as soon as the box is filled, and through IoT it triggers the signal to generate the box label now, and that is pasted on the box there and there itself. So obviously the data quality mix up production, earlier there used to be some cases where one particular box, we used to call mix and match cases. Some box used to go to some different customer altogether. So all those things has improved quite a lot. So in terms of ROI, what we did, we started small in the sense across before going for a 20 plants, we actually did one pilot in one particular plant to see what are the benefits. Once we saw that yes, the benefit whatever we had earlier envisaged were real, then now we are scaling it up. So we did see conservatively we had mentioned to the management that we will get the savings of around 25 to 30 minutes. But then when the management saw that the savings are much more bigger in a pilot project, they obviously now in fact pressure is back on me to roll this out this across the globe. So it's a reverse pressure in fact I'm facing right now to how quickly we can scale this up.
Okay, thanks. And has this had any impact on your overall production efficiencies as well? Has the production efficiency gone up, or no impact on that?
See, while we are yet to put a number to it. See, what is happening is, because now the shift. Since the reports which were earlier available in the logbook for on a standalone basis, even our unit managers, we have given them access on a Power BI platform. So all these now report and visibility of what is my plant usage, uptime, etc., is available to them on a even when they are back home. Sometimes they do check, see which particular machine is down, or which particular machine is really not performing as per the expectation. So all these things are resulting into a quicker decision-making process. So now, whether this has actually resulted in the machine operational equipment efficiency, personally, I feel that, but it is a feeling. It's going to take some time to really translate that into the numbers. But one thing I can tell you, by sheer pressure which I got from the management to quickly roll out across units, that definitely tells me that yes, definitely this is giving them a lot of benefits.
I think that's all I have for now from a questions perspective. We can maybe
Yeah, thank you, Mukesh. So I think you're mute, but yeah, thanks, Mukesh. So I'll quickly then move to the the next topic basically, which is pertaining to more on HANA migration. Yeah, so let me do that.
Yeah, thanks.
So I'll just quickly give you a background in the sense. Okay. So I'll talk about it actually more. So there are not major slides on it. We started our HANA implementation journey almost in May 2021. In fact, at a time, more or less, the second wave of COVID had got completed, and like I mentioned, across the globe we have around 20 plants. So what we did was, since my complete landscape was almost like 7-year-old, hardware, and there was a pressure on me to change the complete SAP. We are on actually HP box, and we wanted to do a complete hardware refresh. So that was a major reason for I would say trigger point for moving from ECC to HANA, because our complete SAP HP landscape was more than 6 to 7 years old. Now we started this project in Sabaron in May 21, and basically since we are hosted on a single instance, then but catering to 10 different plants in across the globe, whether it's Poland or whether it's Russia, Mexico, all our processes are standardized. All we have is actually templatized approach which we followed. So we reach out to all the users. We used to capture their requirements. We did a lot of I would say Zoom. Maybe the pandemic also helped us from that perspective, because many of our team members were operating at that time at home, and they could put in a lot of extra hours, to understand the user requirement, take them to the training, testing, etc., etc. So my complete SAP landscape, like I mentioned, see, apart from standard SAP, we also use APO. We have BI and BW, which was implemented, and we did this complete migration in a single stop. With a big bang approach, we moved all these applications onto the SAP HANA platform. Okay, and so we finally we went live on 24th of January. That was our complete progression. Mukesh, I think maybe I don't know, but there was one slide which was there when I had sent it to you. So I'm straight away jumping to HANA. So
I don't think I got your slides, Prakash. Maybe it's still in your outbox.
No problem. I think so I've anyway talked about it. So
yeah.
in terms of the kind of issues faced, or learnings which personally I felt, this complete duration of 7-month project, we spent almost 1.5 months on a negative stock issues. So I'll just quickly tell you what is negative stock. Basically, see, what is happening is we had gone live in SAP in 2009, on ECC in 2009. Now, when we were trying to upgrade, to newer version, uh, basically in our sandbox system, we were noticing that some of the stock line items, when we were migrating and applying the patches, for the conversion, there were a lot of line items which were going into the negative stocks. Now, when we deep dive into it, I mean, we raised obviously tickets with SAP, and our implementation partner in India was IBM. We raised a lot of, multiple times we raised this issue, but we were not getting any particular solution from this. Okay. Then finally, we actually had to reach out to SAP Max Attention. We had taken this service as an add-on to ensure that our complete migration went smoothly. So there was one particular note, I just mentioned that 2600, for the technical guys to look at it. If in case you are in the process of migration, do look at this particular note, which clearly gives us a direction of what needs to be done into this particular case where you get negative stocks. The problem, see, you can't overlook this particular issue, because otherwise, if you go ahead and just ignore this error, you will have a mismatch, or your inventory reconciliation will go for a toss post migration, and I'm sure auditors will not approve this kind of so you need to ensure that you complete, when you do the migration, your stocks are telling, your reconciliation is there. Otherwise, at least our auditors would have clearly told us, okay, Prakash, with this scenario, we really can't sign off. You need to ensure there's a complete reconciliation of stocks with existing SAP in ECC, and when you move to HANA, the opening and the closing balances should match. So, but this took a lot of time to resolve, and at least during our migration. Another issue, I would say, which we faced in terms of was what was happening during migration. This was actually, I'm talking of when the cutover was happening. Okay, our CPU utilization, though we had sized the complete infrastructure, as per the recommendation of the implementation partner. In fact, we had not only sized, we had oversized it. In spite of that, during migration, our CPU utilization was going to 100%, and it was actually causing the jobs were getting stuck. Okay. Now it's very interesting, the root cause, when we they said, what was happening, and this is really a classic thing, guys. I mean, I would so what was happening, you need to allocate memory utilization, memory to the individual processes. Now what we had done was, since we thought this particular process is critical, migration, we allocated 100% of resources to that particular process. Now what was happening is, since it was touching 100%, it was consuming all the resources, it was hanging all other processes, and actually migration was getting stuck. So simple solution was, to reduce the allocation from 100 to 90 or 95, so that another 10% of your memory allocation actually keeps getting utilized to keep processing other processes which are also critical for migration. And while I'm saying this in one or two sentences, trust me, in those blackout period of 40, we had a blackout period of 50 minutes. My 2.5 hours were lost in this particular activity. So it's a very important learning. Again, we had to log a ticket with SAP, global resource. By the time they could come and solve the ticket and give us a solution, we lost a bit of time in this. So I would say it's critical to get all these things right when you are doing the migration. Yeah. Similarly, in SAP, there's a AC Doka table, and since migration, since we are very old SAP user, 2009, since we are database table had reached almost to the 2 billion transactions, and this is also becomes very SAP. Ideally speaking, you should try to make partitions and reduce the size of the table. This is what SAP recommends, but ideally you should try to do this even before you do the migration. This will, unfortunately, we did this post migration, and I have to take one more shutdown. So my submission and request would be, you guys should look at archiving or partitioning AC Docker tables before you actually take on the implementation. So these are the few basic, I would say, learnings, but I actually wanted this to be more interactive. So if you have any more questions, on the migration side, I'll be more than happy to answer those. Yeah.
Again, I'll just wait for a minute or so to see if there are any questions on the from the participants. Otherwise, as usual, I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so while we wait for others to post their questions, what went really well in your migration? So first question, it was a greenfield, a brownfield. So you migrated from ECC, right? You did not create a new instance.
Correct. So it was a brownfield project, like you said, Mukesh. For us, we were already existing SAP users since past 10 to 11 years, and but we didn't do SOH. I mean, there was no technical. It was a full-fledged functional migration which we adopted as a process, and because when we looked at both the options, either doing a technical migration and then doing a functional migration, we thought that the single step process now, since SAP is much more stable, and even we moved from 22. I mean, we moved to SAP HANA 2020 version, which is much more stable, and and when we spoke to a lot of other customers and peers in the industry, we got a good feedback. It's that there are no major issues and we can go on. So there's a reason we adopted this approach. So what was your other question? Yeah, what went well? Yeah. So what went well is, again, I think after learning from our the EPAD, the previous project process, one thing we realized that user buy-in is very important. So we kept on doing, practically we did weekly. See, before the start of the projects, we nominated SAP. We divided the whole project team into three parts. One was basically IT team users who will be responsible for configuration, coding, etc. But then SAP, we also identified SAP BPOs, business process owners, to ensure that there's a standardization of the processes across the geographies, and below them we had SAP power users. Now, we used to practically have weekly review meetings with each of these discipline process owners to ensure they are getting onboarded, or they are involved in gap analysis or mapping of between existing and to be processes, because we did functional migration also. So we touched upon a lot of processes which needed upgrade. So we had extensive discussion across the team, across the globe, to ensure that everybody was onboarded. This part went really very well. I think while we did have three, four technical issues, but in general, IBM did a good job. I would say, I will not shy away from saying that, and ensuring that the overall migration went quite smooth. We did almost, one more learning is almost we did, I would say, 5 to 6 mock runs. So, before actually moving to the production. So we had sandbox, then we had development server, we had a quality server. But before moving to, between quality and production, we actually did 3 mock drills, to ensure that each and every process is what we had configured is running as per our expectation. So, and blackout period also is not exceeded. So in terms of, and one of the major benefits, I would say, again, what went well is the complete today, the before HANA migration, for example, the reports, transaction, especially our inventory reports, etc., used to take almost 3 to 4 hours. Now that has brought down to less than, I would say, it hardly takes 3 to 4 minutes to churn out these reports. MRP is a big change. MRP Live, which used to earlier take almost like 3-4 hours to run, this now MRP is running within 10 to 15 minutes for all the units. So that's definitely a big positive, or I would say major change which we have observed. Another thing is GUI, the complete graphical user interface in case of HANA is much more intuitive and easy to use for the operators, and I mean even the I would say semi-skilled operators. So it's very easy to operate compared to standard ECC GUIs. So this is, I would say, big change, and users are definitely liking it. I mean, overall response time of system has improved much more faster. Reports are coming out quite, I would say, in a much quicker manner. And fourth, I would say, advantage is this also helps you to digitally transform, your other processes. Since it has SAP Fiori as a front end, there are many processes, which you feel are critical to your organization, which can be then further transferred or digitally transformed using native Fiori languages.
Interesting. So you spoke about MRP Live actually getting, MRP run moving from 3 hours to 15 minutes. Has that changed how often your manufacturing teams run the planning scenarios?
So we do it on a weekly basis. We get, because in our we have weekly form plans, because the nature of industry is what we have. We do, but obviously, see, one is a weekly. We do weekly. Then also we run on a when we do the scheduling of particular allocation of a line. So in some units we actually run MRP on a daily basis also now.
Okay, and I believe you were also part of a program that the enterprise support team was running, right? So would you like to share a little bit about that?
Yeah. Thanks, Mukesh. For so what we did was, we signed up for enterprise support during this particular migration for 3-4 months. The complete enterprise support team in the backend. We again, in fact, that was also part of a process where we used to have a weekly calls with them. So any ticket, for example, when we were logging with SAP, in the backend support, obviously because the global support team have their own priorities and number of tickets to solve. But parallelly, what this team was doing was ensuring they used to, especially for the tickets which are becoming critical, they used to go out of the way and push our envelope. They used to ask, global team to either come up with a solution quickly, or sometimes they even used to get some other experts within the SAP team, to resolve our, queries. So enterprise support that way was definitely a big help. A couple of, I would say, they were really very, very cooperative and, quite helpful in ensuring that any tickets we used to raise to SAP, at least, they used to ensure that we used to get a quicker turnarounds. Yeah, sometimes otherwise it used to take a lot of time to get a feedback, from a standard SAP process. But yes, enterprise support that way was very helpful to us.
Yeah, thanks. The program is called Enterprise Support Go Live Support, and is now available across the board for all customers to kind of sign up. If you want more information, you can just drop me an email. I'll share my email ID on the chat, and I can actually connect you to the team, which can actually help you in your Go Live projects. I'll put it on the chat so that in case you want to kind of reach out. So one of the challenges that a lot of customers tell me about when I talk to when I talk to them about their S4 journey is the change from their vendor master and all of that to be a business partner, and master data challenges in terms of cleaning up of master data and all of that. So how did that go for you? So any learnings from there?
So actually, Mukesh, actually, these are, I would say, these projects can master data cleanup, etc., which we had anyway taken that as a separate project much before even we embarked upon the HANA part of it. Because unless until you have a, HANA I mean, the complete master data cleaned up, it's going to impact your MRP live, or even there are a lot of, I would say, when, for example, when we do production booking, even, bomb routing, etc., is a lot of dependencies on there on the master data perspective. So we, as a process, we took that on much before even we, started the HANA migration perspective. But yes, you raise a very important point. I think. It's very pertinent that we as an organization take this. I mean, we need to keep doing this. So over the period, either you have a very strong governance process that once you clean up, but then it does happen within the organization due to various reasons. The priorities or various priorities, the master data tends to get some bit of, I would say, garbage in, garbage out keeps happening, and we almost every 3-4 years person needs to look at this particular exercise. But yes, to answer your question in short, we did that separately and we cleaned up, and then we actually started this migration journey.
Okay, and again, a similar question as to what I asked earlier, which is. What was your business case for the migration that you got approved? I mean, what was the basis on which you got your business case approved?
So in our case, majority, I mean, it was that way relatively straightforward, because our complete, like I mentioned, the SAP hardware itself was almost like 6 to 7 years old. The life of SAP servers, or whether you use HP or IBM or any other vendor, typically it's around 5 to 5.5 years. So we had already stretched it to 6.5 years. So it was becoming critical to migrate, and this was obviously, over the years we had also grown. Our database size had grown compared to 5 years back. We did a couple of acquisitions. So that was one major justification, was the hardware refresh itself, justified this migration to HANA. And I think that's what typically most of us tend to do. And I would say from that is a technical justification. From functional justification, obviously, HANA offers you a lot of out-of-box functionalities which are not there in ECC. Say, for example, when I look at the complete credit limit process, it was earlier running out of the system. Now, SAP HANA itself gives you a functionality that's known as OCLF. The complete credit management process is now within part of SAP core SAP processes. Similarly, you can do cost center budgeting at the cost center level, etc. Earlier, it was there in ECC, but now processes are much more simplified. Similarly, the material ledger accounting. If you look at if you want to do the profitability analysis, material ledger principle has been, enabled in the S4 HANA. So if you have to actualize the costs and arrive at the profitability of your products, I think that's relatively much more simpler in HANA compared to ECC. So when we looked at the functionality part, apart from the technical, for me, technical, like I said, hardware itself justified. But then when we coupled this with the functional benefits which were, getting to move to HANA, obviously then the whole case becomes, I would say, it was easily justifiable.
Cool. So my next question is again in terms of productivity, or in terms of how your organization functions. Has that changed because of the capabilities that S4 provides? For example, in-app reports, embedded AI/ML capabilities, the recommendation engine that the SAP S4 HANA has. So any thoughts on that?
So now, Mukesh, since we have recently, just gone a couple of backs live, but that is definitely on the track, in the sense that has been part of our roadmap. So how do we leverage? Overall, I would say, like I said, the productivity definitely has improved, because the time to access the report has drastically come down. So this has, I would say, that definitely we can attribute it to HANA. But since we are anyway SAP users, other processes have not majorly changed. But yes, now we are focusing, since we have established our platform on HANA, we are now looking at how do we further leverage AI/ML capabilities of the, the what system can offer. More than even before going to AI/ML, our focus, in fact, we are also talking to again Max Attention team to see how we can leverage embedded analytics, which comes as a part of HANA itself. So the certain critical KPIs for our business, we are trying to focus on it.
Cool. So I'll stop. I mean, I've been non-stop asking questions, so I'll just stop for a minute and see if anyone else has any question. I would really, it'll be great if you have any question, if you can just unmute yourself and ask it. Okay, so looks like I'm gonna be the person who asks you more questions. So one of the things that a lot of customers talk about when they complete the migration to S4 is around figuring out all the different functionalities that S4 provides, and which are probably not existing in ECC at all, which probably now, because you moved to S4, you have these functional components available. So how did you or your team go about identifying some of these components? Did you, first of all, identify these components and go implement these as well, apart from what you were already using in ECC? You did mention about it a little bit, but specifically those around which were not available in ECC, but now are available in S4.
So what we did was, Mukesh, it's a good question. See, because when we, once we decided that, we need to move to HANA, what we did was we reached out to our implementation partner specifically, and we started engaging with them to understand, because fortunately they had the same implementation partner had done our SAP implementation earlier. So they knew what kind of business processes we are engaged with, we deal with. So what we did was function by function and process by process. We actually told them that, say, for example, in finance, right? These are the areas currently which are not handled in ECC, how they can help in either, we develop a customized process, or if there is a standard app or Fiori process, which can be implemented along with the process. So, say, like I said, I gave you an example of, in sales and distribution, our complete credit management process was outside SAP. So when we sat with the implementation partner, we told them as a requirement, then they said, no, now we have a standard SAP, functionality in HANA, which covers credit management as a process. So that's how we identified, so we had a discussion with our implementation partner going through each and every module. Currently, what we are doing within SAP, outside SAP. In fact, focus at that time was especially outside SAP processes, how we can try to bring it into within the SAP itself, and leverage HANA basically. So that's how we came up our list, and finally we signed off, as a project plan that this all will do as a part of a migration project.
Cool. So if you were to summarize the entire experience and say, give 3 advice for people who are starting on this journey to definitely look at before they actually start the journey in order to maximize their ROI from the migration, what would the 3 advice be? Top 3 advice or suggestion or whatever you want to call, recommendation maybe.
Yeah, my advice, one would be, the team should definitely, so it's in a different areas. Let me put one, right from the hardware technical, I'm just giving you a holistic, approach of it. So today, when we started when we signed up with SAP almost 2 years back, SAP Rise was not there, as a cloud platform. So that is something which definitely you should evaluate before taking a call to go on premise or on cloud. So I think SAP Rise gives you one good opportunity to evaluate cloud and completely look at hosting, because it's a comprehensive service which comes from SAP, including basis or application management. So that is something I would recommend to do that. And second, piece of it is, obviously IT alone can't drive this project. You need user buy-in, and before you start, I think, and fortunately, I got excellent support from my organization and my CEO. So before I, started, I ensured that I had a good buy-in, and the users were allocated by the business for this particular project. So, for example, I clearly told them we need at least 2 hours of their time on a daily basis, apart from whatever they are doing regularly for my project. Otherwise, we can't do this. So there's a lot of push and pull which happened, but yes, users were allocated, and then we did that. So that's how we went about forming the team. And so my advice is, yes, take user buy-in, look at SAP for RISE, look. And last but not the least is, maybe you can also look at, in case your environment is very complex, maybe you can also look at max attention as a service. So because sometimes, even if we call, log tickets with the regular SAP support, it doesn't get solved in time. But if your project is very critical, maybe you can even look at max attention as a support.
Thank you so much, Prakash. I'll just wait for a minute or so. We still have about 4 minutes to go. So I've exhausted all my questions. So yes. I'll just see if anyone else has any question. And let's just wait for a minute or two. And if there are no questions forthcoming, then we can end the call. Thank you so much for taking your time and sharing your insights with us.
Yeah. No, I would, and Mukesh, thank you for making this really interactive and, I would say interesting for the other participants. I hope, I have added value to, the listeners. Maybe, it's, and I hope I was really audible to all of you guys, because it's a language, sometimes our accent is a little different. So pardon me for that. Yeah, Singapore user group, and hopefully I'll be able to hear some of your use cases in future. Yeah, welcome, Brian. Yeah.
You know me, Prakash. I always have a lot of questions.
Yeah, true. Okay, Mukesh.
Anyways, thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for joining. I hope it was useful, helpful. We will also post the recording on the SSUG website. And Prakash, if you can send the slides to me, I can also upload the slides on the Singapore User Group website.
Perfect. I'll do that. Yeah, by end of the day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.